Hello, 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 and welcome. My name is Lee Kara, and this is Unleash Your Light. It's Thursday morning, August 9th, the day after the official Lionsgate, although those energies are supposed to be sticking around, so we'll see what happens. We have a great show today. Let's make sure that I'm live. I hope you'll invite a couple of your friends. It has been a very heavy month leading up to today, hasn't it? I don't mean August, I mean July. These last 4 or 5 weeks have been killer. Hi, Mary. Hi, Monica. Welcome. I'm a little worse for wear today, y'all, so bear with me. I went up to the Blue Ridge Mountains this last couple of days. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. So amazing. I absolutely love it there. It's like my 4th time going to visit. Luckily, it's just a couple-hour drive from here. Good morning, Deb. Welcome. And I went with a good friend of mine, Jody, and it was really great. We had a great time. All right, let's see here now. Are you sharing out? I hope that you're sharing this with your friends because it has been a heavy week, and that's what we're going to talk about. Good morning, Kat. Good morning, Lay. That's what we're going to talk about is how heavy it's been and what have we learned. Because there's no way that we're put through all of this stuff and not going to learn something, right? There's a purpose to everything that we go through. We just have to make sure that we figure that purpose out, right? So I know that a lot of us have been having these old energies come up, right? Hello, the Umair. All of these old energies have been coming up. And one more thing. I'm sorry. My bad. There we are. Just want to double check. Hi, Jody. Welcome. All these old energies that are coming up are really repetitive. They're repetitive, don't you think? All the stuff that was coming up for me over the last month is stuff that I have been dealing with and thought that it was gone. Like stuff that it hasn't crossed my mind to be an issue for some of them years, right? But over this past month, it's kind of like been, let's revisit the past and watch our old favorite reruns of how we like to bash ourselves. Good morning, Barb. Good morning. And so here comes this big energy. Good morning, Rena. Here comes this big energy for the last month. And I think I mentioned on the last show that even I don't follow that kind of the astrological stuff too much. But even with all that stuff going on, and I didn't know. Oh, thanks, Rena. And me not knowing about it, they still started sending me these shows about self-awareness and paying attention to ourselves. Hi, Jasmine. Welcome. And all those sort of things. So they're preparing us to head towards this gate that happened yesterday and that is going to be continuing to affect us for the next couple of days and into the next year, from what I hear. But so that energy of coming through this gate, it's almost like they had to really clear out a lot of the junk that we have been carrying around, like the little leftover things that were stuck in the pipes, right? And they really want to like get all of that out before we get to the next level, through the next gate. I feel like we can't take that old stuff with us to the next level. Thanks, Jasmine. So I think it's important as we're going through, we all know we're going through all this yucky stuff, right? We all know that it's these old patterns coming back up. Did we, I'm asking myself the question too, did we actually pay attention to what those old things were that were coming up and try to figure out how to fix them? I've used this analogy before about how when we're in those repeat emotions and we're in that, it brings on such a dark place that we remember so clearly. Oh, thanks, Monica. So when it brings us to that place that we remember so clearly of depression or anger or sadness or whatever it is that your repeat issues are, right? It used to be that when we would go to that place back in the day and that was happening. Oh, good, Teresa, I'm glad. And then we would jump into this pool of emotion and pain and sadness naked, right? But now we have some tools. So now when those same energies come up again, we're able to jump into them wearing a scuba suit, wearing a mask, having an oxygen tank, right? Maybe a spear. So you're prepared. You're going to handle those same emotions from the past differently now than you did then, right? So that's kind of been the goal of what we've been doing and paying attention and being the observer, not sinking yourself into these emotions to the point that you lose your perspective on where you are, on what you're doing, on who you want to become and who you already are that you want to remember, right? And I was having this discussion last night about how all eventualities, all time is already there. Whatever it is that you want to do, it's already done. It's just you choosing the right steps that will lead you along that branch of reality, right? And you lead yourself along that. If you make the right choices, then you end up at that destination that you want to be at, because the universe already has that ending planned out for you. Yeah, so these are the things you guys are learning, right? The bubble wrap soup for Monica. I love that idea, Monica. I think a bubble wrap soup is very, very clever. It is a very good way to still be able to like put your hand on people and to interact with them without being completely isolated, but being protected too. I think that's a great thing to have learned. Teresa loves the energies of the Lion's Gate. I'm loving them too, even though some of them are not fun. But it's not all about fun, right? I'm learning all of these new things because I'm not going to bring that old stuff through the gate, right? If I want to think of it that way, I don't want to bring that old stuff through the gate with me. I need to leave that behind so that I can bump up to the next set of stuff that's coming. If you guys notice, when you get your own downloads, when you get your own energies, your epiphanies, when you have like one of those realizations, you go, oh my gosh, that's why I've been doing this over and over again. And it shifts you into the next, almost like a vibration frequency. I don't know what the right words are, but it bumps you up. I always think in video games, it bumps you up to the next level. You find yourself a little passageway, and now you're going at this level, and then you accomplish some things on that level, and then you bump up, ting, 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 ting. You see what I'm saying? So like, we can't bring all this yucky stuff to those other levels. It doesn't let you bring that through. So if you can't shed some of this stuff by healing it and loving it, then they're not going to allow that through the gate. Like TSA is the way that I'm picturing it in my head, is that it's like TSA, and there are things in your bag that you can't bring with you. So you either decide, either I leave this behind and I go through the gate and I get on my flight, or you go, no way, there's no way I'm going to leave that behind. And you stay in the airport for a while until you decide that you're going to leave that thing behind, so you can go through the TSA gates, and they can tell you if you're clear for your flight to the next level, right? Through the Lion's Gate, through whatever is going on, I mean, it's kind of a simplistic way to think about it, but if we can bring our consciousness to that kind of simple level about our own emotions, then it makes it so much more, I was going to say tackleable, but I don't think that's a word. It makes you think, hey, I can do this. I can tackle this huge thing of abuse, like Mary's talking about here. I can tackle these emotions because I have a path to do that, and I have the tools that I need to do that. And so I hope that as you go through this gate, that you are getting some of those tools. And this is a thing about you reliving this fear. I would say that's probably not just about during this time. I would say you're probably reliving that fear almost every day of your life. And I can relate to that in a very deep way, because my own son was actually abducted when he was young, and I didn't know where he was. And it was a very heavy, fearful thing when I got him back, that I was scared to go out in public with him. I wouldn't let go of his hand. I was terrified he was going to get snatched. It was like a big thing. So I totally get that. That's a little different than what we're talking about today. The only way for you to let go of that is for you to forgive the abuse that you went through. And I know that it sounds crazy. Forgive the abuse that you went through, Mary. And then you won't be living from a fear-based place and putting that energy of fear on them. Instead, you would be able to put an energy of protection on them the way that you wanted to be protected. You go back to those moments of abuse and you protect yourself and you love yourself and you forgive the person doing it because they're doing it out of pain, as much as it can hurt to do that. And then you release it. And it is not an easy thing, but it is a simple thing. It's a choice. It's always a choice, but it's a difficult choice. And so what have you guys learned through this heavy energy that we've been doing, through these repeated energies that have been coming up over and over and over again over the past few weeks that we can't take through the gate? Hi there, Emily. Hi, Christina. Those things that we can't bring through the gate, what is it that you've discovered this month? Now, for me, it was my own self-esteem that popped up again. I used to hate myself and curse at myself in the mirror every time that I looked at my image. I was a cutter for many, many years. And for me, that refrain that always played in my head was fat, ugly, stupid, unwanted. And I believed this as my reality right up and until my awakening in 2012. And I just turned 48. So it's been a really long time that I've had that energy with me. And it's been years, probably 2 years at least, maybe 3, that I've really looked at myself and thought something mean and hateful, like I did over this past few weeks, right? So what I learned was that I still had stuff, not just from this lifetime, but from another lifetime, that I had to forgive. And I still had those thoughts in me of stupid and ugly that were holding me back from moving forward in my life, in both my personal life and in my mission. Because by me being dependent on other people's opinion, it paralyzes you because you're worried about what they think of you. And so my judgment side had come back up and was blocking me from moving forward and taking the leaps that I need to take to spread the message the way they want me to. So the thing that I learned is that I have to make sure that I correct that with unconditional love of self, which is like the magical key that unlocks all this kind of stuff, you know? And so this unconditional love of self is what I learned I need to be really embracing every time that those old things come up. And that I really had some more stuff about myself that I had to love myself through and heal myself through and be there for myself, not beat myself up because I have this whole other round of ridiculous thoughts about myself, but rather to hug myself, to love myself, to give myself that comfort, to be my own best friend. It's very strange, isn't it, Emily? I was really struggling with it, and it was really unusual. It was really, really unusual for me to be doing this. And it took me a bit. And then I started noticing this pattern. And a lot of people were struggling with the same thing of self-value. And it's so fascinating to me when these waves come through. And this one I felt was so strong because if our point here, like I said, a lot of this is above my pay grade, but if our goal here is to embody unconditional love in our everyday life, right? So that frequency and that vibration in that beautiful love of self, that connection is going to be vibrating so high and you're like in the zone, right? And that changes the world around us, right? So by us being able to live in that zone, then we can change the world around us. And if there's enough of us doing that, then it shifts the mass consciousness, right? So if that is the goal, is that unconditional love of self, it certainly makes sense that the self-value issues will come up for everyone in their own way. that those self-value issues are going to pop up for everyone, but in their own way. Because for some people, it's, a voice that calls them a loser. And for some people, it's about not being, comparing yourself to the next person that's coming up again. For others, they might hear their parents' voice telling them that they're worthless because they slept past a certain time. Like, everyone has their own little thing. Yes, exactly, Emily. And you have to be the one to pay attention to those spots, to pay attention to those emotions, because we're still in this Lionsgate thing. Like, we're still feeling it until the next eclipse on the 11th. So you can still clear off some of that stuff, so you can make sure that you step through, so that you make sure that you leave this stuff behind. It's certainly something that takes a lot of Windex to clean all this stuff off, right? It definitely takes a little bit. It absolutely is amazing to catch yourself spinning in these thoughts over and over and over again. They become like a refrain, like the chugga-chugga of the train tracks. And you get to where you don't even notice them anymore, right? So you sit on a train for 6 hours, you don't even hear the chuk, 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 unless you're focusing on it, right? So in your minds, these repetitive phrases that are judging, that are, we put ourselves down with, that we've created this negative mantra, if you will, that we create about ourselves, it runs in the background, sometimes on autopilot. And you're like, wait a minute, did I just say stupid? Did I just say ugly? Right? And you're like, where did that come from? No, I'm adorable today. But it's this automatic thing. And that's why self-awareness is so important, because we need to really pay attention to our thoughts and emotions so that we can derail them. So train analogy. So we can derail those things so that we can interrupt the tracks of these repetitive thoughts, right? And it's just like, it always reminds me of like Cesar Millan with the dog whisperer. When the dogs start to head towards that red zone, right? If you catch them, he does that little thing where he kicks them on the neck. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but it snaps them out of their automatic instinctual, I need to protect, I need to attack, right? It snaps them out of it before they get to that. That's what this is. That's what one of these things. Did you grow up next to a train track? We live next to train tracks several times. Yes, I'm with you, Emily. And you don't notice it after a while. But that's what we are supposed to be fighting. Because when you notice these things, you can heal them. You'll notice when they come up. You'll be able to notice the emotional connection between things that happen in your life and that feeling that you had from way back when everybody looked at you like you were a horrible person in your mind, right? And so something happens up here, and the emotion from 12 years ago when that thing happened pops up because it's being triggered. It's being like brought back to your awareness, right? So now you can sit in this yuckiness and go right back to that spot and be miserable and sad and have that emotion from the past envelop you in the present, right? Or as we feel that pain, we also stay in the observer spot and go, what is it about this moment that made me remember that pain that I'm now kind of spinning in? What was it that happened that brought me to this moment in pain in my past, right? What brought me to this weird negative mantra that I'm repeating now? What triggered me to start thinking about this in my life today that brought up these thoughts from yesterday? We're able in these moments, as we're leading up to this big thing of stepping through the gate, to really see what those motivations are, what those pathways are, and to do the pattern interrupt. Because you're going to recognize, oh, okay, so when somebody questions something I did, I get that abandonment, everybody hates me, I'm going to do all the work and not get any of the credit, whatever it is, that emotion is going to come up. How can I stop this? By not depending on anyone else's opinion of you, by valuing what you do highly enough that maybe that doesn't trigger that competition, because what you do is what you do. And your audience, your reward, your abundance is going to come to you for what you do, right? So then we can shift that pattern from being rejected to, even if they reject me, it's not because of what I've done, it's because that's not what they need, right? You shift and pattern interrupt. It's not an easy thing to do, but it is a simple thing to do. And sometimes you can laugh at stuff, Barb. I think one of the really big things I learned this month is to maintain your sense of humor while all this stuff is going on. Because I don't know about you guys, but what I learned is that the stuff that I carried around for so many years, I cannot even believe that I functioned in that level of pain, right? I mean, when you look back at where you've been and what you're going through and all the things that have been happening in your way past, and then you look at all the progress you made, when those old emotions come up, some of them I actually kind of giggled that would have even triggered me at one point, because I've worked through so much. Oh, so grateful. Worked through so much stuff, right? But those other things, they keep coming up over and over again. The further we get down this road, the easier it is to spot the problem, to spot where the healing needs to go, right? A problem. Spot where that healing needs to go. Because we are learning so much. And we can turn that empathy and that love of self directly on us and shine that light. So many of us are fabulous at healing other people and saying to them, you know, here's some great advice for you. And if you heal this, blah, blah, blah. But they don't ever turn that on themselves, right? And the whole sense of this is to transform yourself. The whole part of this is to transform yourself, right? So if we're transforming ourselves, then we need to be turning that empathy on ourselves. We need to be turning that amazing healing power on ourselves. And what happens is, as amazing as your gift is towards others right now, when you are also healed by that same unconditional love, your gift will be amplified in such a way that it almost, you don't even have to try. The zone starts, the flow starts, because you're connected to that energy, to that path that will bring you through. Yes, Gabriella, everybody take a moment to send Gabriella some love. Let's see. She's feeling terrible, can't sleep, bad stomach, pains and nervousness. They say, now I don't know a lot about this, maybe somebody in the audience knows a little bit more. They say that as you detox physically, that kind of stuff happens, that the pain comes up and you have some days of really feeling worse than you did before you detoxed. So maybe if you've been working hard in this, what have we learned kind of an environment, it's quite possible that the things that you're detoxing are causing a physical reaction in you. And then that will actually like lower your immune system, or, you know, figure it kind of lowers everything and then makes you more susceptible to an actual physical, you know, malady. So it's kind of this, you know, hand in hand sort of a thing. So I hope that you feel better. Okay, Cynthia says, it's challenging not to feel devalued when important people walk out of your life without explanation. Absolutely, Cynthia. It is absolutely true. It is very challenging to go through that and not have an explanation, right? But here's what we have to do. We have to be okay to move forward without the explanation, because the explanation isn't what's going to heal you. What's going to heal you is your forgiveness and your acceptance of the situation, because it really doesn't matter what the other person says. Will it ever make it okay that you lost them? It's not going to change that. What could change that is the love and acceptance and that energy that you're going to be seeing this situation in. It's very, very difficult. It is very, very difficult, Cynthia, believe me, but it is a very simple thing to just decide to forgive someone who hurts you, because they are obviously in pain, you know. And one of the things I talk about a lot on the show is that as we move forward in our own spiritual walk, right? If you want to think of it very visually, we change shape as we learn, okay? So we're changing shapes constantly. Now, when you attracted these people into your life, you fit into each other's psyches and problems in a particular way, right? You attracted a mirror to what was going on with you that could help you to heal, okay? That's what the universe does. So if we're attracting this mirror and you fit in a particular way, right? And then you move forward on your transformation and change shape, right? Now you're not going to fit with that person in the same way if they haven't also shifted what their shape is as they're walking through their transformation. If they're standing still, they're still this shape and they're not going to fit with you anymore. And people tend to find that very confusing. And sometimes it means they leave. Sometimes it means that we shed these people who aren't willing or aren't able or aren't awake yet to change, to shift with us, to transform, to understand that it's two sides of a coin, every issue that we have, right? It's a very hard place to be in, absolutely. Barb wants to know, what does empathy mean? Empathy means that you are able to put yourself in the other person's shoes and feel what they're feeling or see it from their perspective. It's about compassion and mercy and seeing things from their eyes and understanding that they act from pain, that they act from love. This is empathy. Being an empath means that you actually physically take on their emotions and feel them as your own. And you have to kind of protect yourself from doing that because it can definitely be overwhelming if you don't understand it. Empathy is an emotion that we have where we can relate to someone else's pain and feel it as if we are them and understand it from that viewpoint. Whereas being an empath is where you actually can take on their emotions from their point of view. And it's a physical thing, like takes it to the next level, you know. Let's see what other great comments, you guys. Absolutely. The warrior's most difficult fight is the one that happens within themselves. So when you are a spiritual warrior, which is kind of what we're all doing, is battling that fear, all of those fear-based things in us. When you think of yourself as, I'm battling this fear and I'm going to love it and I'm going to find it and I'm going to, change it and transform it. That battle is always within ourselves. And the world is a reflection of that battle within ourselves, right? So what we have, the conflict we have inside will be reflected by conflict all around us, right? It's a very, what's on the inside is on the outside, but then what happens on the outside affects what you're doing on the inside, right? This is one of the things, what have we learned? I reinforce that knowledge within myself that I have to get my validation, my love, my energy, my knowledge. It needs to come through the light. It needs to come through unconditional love. I cannot depend on the world to tell me that I'm worthy of the mission I'm supposed to do. I can't wait for the world to tell me, you're beautiful, it's okay for you to go out and be seen. I can't wait for that. I have to be the one to say, I'm beautiful, I'm ready to be seen, I'm talented, I'm getting the message out, I'm this, I'm that, whatever your I am is. Don't wait for someone else to give you the validation that makes you believe it's okay for you to do that. That has to come from within. Because you may never hear it from the people around you. You may never have someone who encourages you to do what's really in your heart. But you're connected to every other being on the planet through the collective. And that gives you so much power and strength if you can figure out how to tap into that all the time. And all you have to do is look within, love yourself, right? I'm you, you are me. So if I love you, I have to love myself. That's one of those things, we'll say that's another thing that a friend of mine learned about. They say, how RuPaul often says, how are you going to love someone else if you can't love yourself? That's not how she says it, but okay. I don't remember which order she says it in, but I disagree with that. You can love other people as much as you want if you don't love yourself, but you won't be able to receive love if you don't love yourself. You won't be able to receive love. So you will always be stuck in a particular trap. That's another good thing that we learned this year in this lunar cycle. Let me tell you, whoo-wee, it has been rough. And it has been uncomfortable. And it has been difficult. But it has been a great opportunity to do work in an intensive way that we don't get that opportunity to do all the time. If everything in your life is beautiful and love and roses and nobody ever comes into your life that causes a problem, how do you work on those problems? Those people who vex you in your life, you're going to learn the most from. Putting yourself in the uncomfortable situations are going to shift you. They are going to change you. And this is great advice, Serena. Allow yourself space to integrate, rest, and heal. And I know that's just for Gabriella, but that's really for all of us, isn't it? Like, I'll tell you what, after these energies, I think I need to recharge, rest, and heal for sure. All right, let's see here now. There we go. Absolutely, Gabriella. I think that's one of the most important things going through this gate is forgiving ourselves, loving ourselves, giving ourselves that love. Connecting with the higher self, dissolving the old. Absolutely. And in a less complicated, ethereal way, be nice to yourself. Be nice to yourself. Love yourself. Comfort yourself. Let's see, the true meaning of the third eye. All right, anyone out there who wants to speak with Nikki about this, definitely jump into these comments. People will be watching this post over the next week or so. It's going to be posted on my wall as well as right here on the Akashic Academy. So anyone else who is interested in this sort of a thing, definitely reach out to Nikki, even reach out to me. I'll bring you on the show if you want. It'll be fun. We'll have a little interview. For me, opening my third eye is really about clearing out all the other stuff that would taint what I would see, because my own issues are going to taint whatever message comes through. So the clearer I am and the more emotionally free I am, the more loving I am to myself, the clearer my third eye is. I call them downloads, not really seeing with my third eye, but the clearer I get those, the clearer I hear those things, the clearer I get my visions, the more clearly the words come to me, just by having my emotional stuff cleaned off, like, Windex or something. So I'm sure that there are a lot of different methods. I believe there's no one way to do anything. That's just me, because I feel like that's why there's so many different ways. It's a direct connection inside of us. Whatever helps you to tap into it is a beautiful thing. So if you thinking of it as your third eye, that's a beautiful thing. And I'm sure that people will help you in that same manner. For me, I think of it as opening my heart so that the cacophony of all the yucky stuff is quieted and I can hear more clearly and I can see more clearly. So I just look at it differently. It's all visualization. So let's see. Katrina says, if you do not find it within, you will never find it without. Absolutely. The whole thing is within us. All right. Carolyn feels the energy even in Glastonbury. Yeah, it's been rough, right? But good, though. Teresa said in pink dragons. I don't know what pink dragons mean, but it brought a pretty picture to my mind. So thank you. I'll bet they're adorable, right? Nikki, my downloads, it's just information that I get. Just information I get. And I used to be terrified because the information would come and I'd be like, am I crazy? Why did I just get all of this? Why do I know all these things that may or may not be true? There you go. See, Teresa Warren knows more about the third eye. So you guys should hook up and chat a little bit. There you go. There's a little bit on it. All right. So what we have learned is to love ourselves, to give ourselves a break, to be aware, to pay attention, right? Not get stuck on the roundabout. All the things that I was talking about this month, these are the things that we needed to learn. This self-awareness of who we are, of what we are, of where we're going. and how all these lessons come together, right? How all these lessons tie in to where we're supposed to be going. So paying attention is very important. And I think we're coming into a new time for loving ourselves. So I'm going to, throughout August, go back to this topic, unconditional love of self, talking about forgiving yourself, giving yourself a break, healing yourself, not judging yourself, getting your validation from the light rather than those around you. So we'll focus on that in August here coming up, now that we're through this gate. And oh, my co-host there, Q, jumping up behind me. Now you can always find me here on Thursdays with Unleash Your Light. You can also find me at unleashyourlight.org. I have some original music there. I post some of the shows. Both copies, I have 2 different books that are free. You can get a PDF copy there if you just go on over and click get a free copy of the book. I also have a group and a page called Unleash Your Light, as well as lots of room for friends. So you can come right on over and friend me, Lee Cara. Sometimes I do shows from my couch as well. I did a show on empaths over the weekend for like a beginner's guide to empaths, learning how to bubble up and protect yourself, learning how to expand your gifts a little bit, figuring out how to separate your emotions from what you're soaking in from the world. I did that on my page. If you cannot find the link, just reach out to me and I will be very happy to send you a link to that for you or anyone you know. And I want you guys to have a fabulous weekend. We have beautiful programming for the rest of the day here. At noon, we have Arena and the Rainbow Bridge. At 7, we have Andrea with the Sacred Chakra Flow. I know there's a new one in between there now. I think it's like 4 o'clock, but I haven't looked at today's schedule, so I'm not sure what it is. But we are on the public page. And here on the public page, you get to see amazing stuff. Emily, who was here in the show, Emily Harrison, has put together an incredible group of people that I am honored to be on this public page with. And so there is another group, though. There is an exclusive group that you can join. It's $11.11 a month or $100 a year. And that puts you in an exclusive Facebook group. And you will actually get extra teachings, guided meditations, channeled messages from Emily, as well as from Coach Nick. And I know that they're working on adding a whole lot more stuff in there. It's absolutely amazing. But you can also go to this website, the Akashic Academy, and sign up for the free newsletter that Emily sends out once a week. It is not spam. It's full of good stuff. And you can get a copy of the quarterly magazine, the Akashic Academy. It's got some great articles in it. This last one had an article from Andrea about chakras and crystals and all that kind of stuff. And just check it out. There's some really interesting stuff there. And if you want to learn to read your Akashic records, this is the place to come, right? I love you guys so much. I'm so grateful to have you all here. I wish I could stay on longer, but I'm already like 7 minutes past. So I'm going to clear the airways. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. And pay attention to what you're learning. Pay attention to what's going on and see it through the tools that you have now, so that way you can heal those things that come up again, because we still got a couple days for you to clear that out and get through the gate. So